Hi everyone, in the last part 1 made those cabin matrices for Quadra V-Tech which consisted of 11 parts, and in this one I'll finish making matrices. We only have to remove them from the back. To begin with we need to prepare it, and to level the ribs on the bumper as they have some small defects and are not parallel to each other. First I removed all the dust that had been accumulating on the boot for several months. Earlier I hastened to refine the boot and didn't measure the plane. As it turned out there was too much redundant putty near the cab. After plane leveling I decided to make one testing. Instead of epoxy resin, I used an acrylic varnish to protect the foam. I sprayed it with a gun. Such method has this kind of advantages: it dries quickly and doesn't leave any leaks as compared to the epoxy resin, but it works only on a pre-leveled surface because the emery paper can hitch it. While the varnish was drying I began to work with the bumper edges. I'll level them using aluminium shape which I'll lubricate with wax. I inserted it between the edges and leveled the distance between the strips according to its plane. Simultaneously with the bumper I was working with the boot plane. After the putty has dried it still reached the foam in some places and formed some pits, but in general the common plane remained unchanged. Such drops can be easily leveled with a second layer. I filled the damaged air ducts with plasticine and leveled into a common plane. I also removed the spoiler slots as I wanted to make a little different timbering for it. In the meantime all the edges are puttied, they need to be filled with plasticine and leveled inside. For this purpose I'll use the same shape and the putty will serve as a rail. After it all the edges were made according to one plane. I didn't experiment with the back of the bumper and covered it with the epoxy resin. It practically don't need to be finalized. We only have to make the flangings, and we'll be ready to roll all the parts with the glass mat. The strips for flangings are used not for the first time. I removed them from the old place and stuck on the new ones. Another disadvantage of the varnish is that while the flanging is being torn off, the plasticine come off together with a piece of acrylic varnish which further needs to be covered with plasticine. Right before the application of the separating composition, I coated the putty with acrylic varnish. While separating composition was drying I made the flangings of other details. Everything is ready, we only need to change filters in the respiratory device. To reduce the cost, I made the adapters for round filters. There is one more idea for an air filtration. I'll realize it in the following parts about Quadra's construction. I stirred the gel coat and began to paint the prepared surfaces. For the resin impregnation, I'll try a roller with the replaceable coils this time. It saved a lot of time, but it only works on flat surfaces. By the end of the matrix manufacture, the roll significantly lost its weight, but I think it'd be enough to work with the power frame. The roller also helped to roll the large pieces of glass mat. Then I went to glue the bumper. It had the most uncomfortable shape for matrices, but I found the solution. I applied mat to the surface, impregnated it with the resin, then pressing the material with my hands pressed it with a brush inside. It stretched and took the right form. After a couple of layers had dried, I glued the bumper in pieces which had already been impregnated with the resin. There are still 3 details left: the wings and the rear part of the bumper. The rear is ready. Now we need to cut all the protrusive edges and attach details between each other with the bolts. I miscalculated the bolts a little bit as I thought I got more. Gonna finish this job next time. So the matrix took about 60 kilograms of polyester resin, 30 kilograms of glass mat and 15 kilograms of gel coat. Here comes the conclusion that the whole matrix without doors weighs about 100 kilograms. And don't forget about the metal edges that will also be glued in like on the hood. Answering the question, will I ever again make the matrix of the whole body? My answer will probably be no, as unlike the picture in real life it takes hundreds of hours of tedious monotonous work. In the next part 1, hope I'll manage to empty the blank and glue the fiberglass body of Quadra. And now thanks all of you for your attention and support. Subscribe to the channel if you still haven't done it. See you in the next video.